Let's talk about the new Battlefield game, or whatever it really is. The game has not been well received by the community, and personally, I'm pretty disappointed too. There are many reasons for it, but it's a bit complicated. Let me preface this by saying the game is not actually that bad. Sure, it has its flaws and bugs, some of them more annoying than others, but it's not as bad as the internet or Steam reviews make it out to be. However, if you look at it solely as a new Battlefield game, a successor to Battlefield 5, I think this is the worst Battlefield game so far. Now you may think, that doesn't make any sense. How can the game be decent but still the worst Battlefield yet? Here's what I think about 2042. DICE and EA could have completely scrapped the Battlefield series and released this game as a new first-person shooter, saying it isn't Battlefield but has a resemblance to Battlefield. And it would have been a lot better received than it is right now. Because frankly, there are so many changes and so many features missing from past Battlefields, it's really hard to see this as a new game in the series. And this is what I want to talk about in this video. While watching this, keep in mind that I'm not here to talk about the pros and cons of 2042. That's an entirely different video. I just want to make a comparison to older Battlefields to show why I think this should not have been released as a Battlefield game in its current state. The list of missing features is long, and if I wanted to go over all of it, this would be a 2-hour video. A Reddit user by the name of Swim made an extensive list of missing features. It's still far from complete, but I'm gonna put a link to his post in the description. In order to keep the video short, we're gonna look at just a few key examples. Let's start with the most obvious stuff. The removal of the class system and the implementation of specialists. You could definitely argue whether this was a good change or not. Personally, I didn't really mind the specialists. I think they allow for completely new playstyles than before, even if they sometimes feel a little arcadey and out of place. However, Battlefield is the class system, and the class system is Battlefield. The next big change being the game modes. Battlefield has always been about conquest or rush in a 32 to 64 player setting. The original conquest with 3 to 6 flags depending on the map size. This has been completely overhauled in 2042. Instead of single flags, we now get sectors consisting of 1 to 3 flags. And you need to capture all flags in order to get the sector. And the sector now kind of acts like a flag did before. Again, I'm not gonna argue whether this was a good or a bad change. I just wanna compare it to previous Battlefields. These two changes would almost already be enough so that nobody would have batted an eye if this game was released as a new franchise. It resembles Battlefield, it feels like Battlefield, but it's not a straight up copy from Battlefield. But now we look at all the features we're missing in 2042. All the good changes that DICE implemented over the past 20 years, just to completely throw them into the bin for their new release. The two main things I want to take as an example here are the support and medic classes. Let's start with the support. I think every Battlefield player, especially the ones playing a lot of infantry, know what it's like to run out of ammo. Older players remember what it was like in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, jumping around in front of a support, hoping he'll get the hint and drop you an ammo crate. Over the past couple Battlefield releases, DICE made many great changes to overcome this problem. Back in Battlefield 4, you could see all the support players carrying ammo crates on the minimap, like in the example shown. If you called for ammo in the quick menu, you yourself would even light up on the minimap, letting other support players know that I need ammo. But you still had to run up to them and hope they'd drop you a crate. In Battlefield 1 they made the great change so that you could run up to them and grab a bit of ammo yourself. So you were no longer dependent on them dropping it for you. In Battlefield 5 they made more great changes with the supply points and the call-ins. You could now go to one of the many supply points and stock up on ammo yourself, or you could call in an ammo box, which would drop from the sky via parachute. You were no longer dependent on any teammates even playing as a support. 2042 comes around, and all of this has been completely thrown out the window. You can no longer see support players on the minimap, the first problem being that there's no support class anymore. Everyone can equip an ammo box now, so you can't even look around to see if you can spot the support player anymore. Only Angel, the new specialist. You have no idea who is even running around with an ammo box in the first place. Calling for ammo also doesn't do anything anymore. Players with an ammo box don't light up on the minimap, and neither do you. On top of that, there's no supply points anymore, so you can't even run up to one of those and resupply yourself anymore. There's also no call-ins. You're completely dependent on your teammates not only using ammo boxes, but also having the awareness of dropping them everywhere or seeing your call-in in the small kill feed on the left. The only small thing here is the fact that killed enemies drop a little bit of ammo when they die. But this is all-out warfare, 64 versus 64 players. Chances there are more than just 2 or 3 enemies around the corner are small. Most of the time I run out of ammo, I don't even have the chance to grab the ammo from their dead bodies. It's a similar situation with the medics. The health replenishes actually work decent, since there's a specialist that can heal from distance, 2 specialists that can revive, and the fact that everyone can use a medic crate now. The revives, however, are a big problem. Let's start way back in Bad Company 2. In Bad Company 2, you could only revive your teammates with a single click of the devip to 100% health. Same in Battlefield 3. In Battlefield 4, they started to change things. You could no longer revive your teammates to 100% with a single click. You had to charge the devip first. That was a great change because players looking for quick XP couldn't just 100% revive you in the open anymore. Battlefield 1 brought new great changes. If you were down, you could now see nearby medics, so you knew whether there was a chance somebody would pick you up or not. They also introduced squad revives, so squad mates could all revive each other, whether they were medics or not. This one small change actually still exists. Well done, DICE. Battlefield 5 introduced another great change. Medics could now look at the downed allies and mark them, letting them know they were coming for a revive. They might take a few seconds as they're in a fight, but they will come for you. 2042 comes around and again, everything has been thrown out the window. You can no longer see nearby medics if you are down. You can't even move your camera to check whether someone's even around you. If you're a medic yourself, you can't mark downed allies anymore, letting them know you're coming for them. The amount of times I've wasted running up to a downed teammate, preparing for a revive, just for them to skip it and me sitting there with my pants down is borderline frustrating. And you know what? I don't blame them. I'm skipping my revives too. Nobody is gonna sit there for 10 to 15 seconds after every death, hoping to get revived if you have no idea if there's even a medic nearby. The last thing I want to talk about is sniping. Long range sniping, to be more precise. I understand this only affects a very small percentage of the player base. I can look past it myself, but I want to talk about it to further highlight just how backwards this game really is compared to its predecessors. We're gonna take Battlefield 4 as a base again. In Battlefield 4 we had 40 times scopes, which was almost too much because we simply didn't really have maps big enough to use it. We had scopes with built-in rangefinders, we had a rangefinder gadget, we had weapon zeroing, and we had Marksman Bonus. I honestly can't remember how far some of this stuff goes back. I know we already had Marksman Bonus in Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2, but I'm not so sure about the other stuff. The combination of all of this allowed you to sit at the back of the map or your base and go for long range sniper headshots if you needed a change from everything else in the game. It was honestly super fun, and we'd try and beat each other for the furthest headshot. For those who don't know what the Marksman Bonus is, essentially you got bonus XP for every headshot kill further away than 100 meter. Let's say you killed someone at 500 meters, you'd get 100 XP for the kill and then another 400 XP Marksman Bonus. That way you always knew how far away the headshot was. Going for headshots 1000 meters and further was always a good challenge, but also very satisfying when you'd hit one. Watching the bullet sail through the air for such a long time. 2042 comes around and yep, you guessed it, everything has been thrown out the window. Again. We no longer have any rangefinders, which makes it impossible to even know how far away an enemy is. We can no longer zero our weapons, which means it's incredibly hard to even hit a long range headshot, let alone headshots 1000 meters and further away. The biggest scope we get is a 10 times zoom, and that doesn't even come up with notches on the scope, which essentially makes long range headshots a lottery. And even if you did hit a long range headshot, you wouldn't even know how far it was, because Marksman Bonus doesn't exist anymore. 2042 launched with the biggest Battlefield maps yet. We had the perfect opportunity to go for even further headshots this time, but we get none of the tools necessary, all of which we already had in previous games. I could talk about another 100 examples like this. I truly believe we would have been better off if they released whatever this game is as a completely new first-person shooter and then released Portal on the side as a proper Battlefield remaster with more weapons, more maps and a proper unlock and progression system, because 2042 sure as hell isn't a Battlefield game. I would have loved to show you some more example clips of what I was talking about in this video. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to go back to Battlefield 4, 1 and 5 to record some of them. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.